the moment of silence. All right, hello and welcome. Today we're going to dive into a real masterpiece of clarity from the ancient world, the Nandakovādasutta. You can think of it as the discourse given by Nandaka. And trust me, this is not just some old story. It's basically a step-by-step masterclass in how you can look at your own experience and, well, really understand it, maybe for the very first time. So you ready? Let's get into it. Okay, so let's set the scene. Picture this. We're in ancient India, in a place called Sabathi. And Mahapajapata Gautami, who was actually the Buddha's aunt and the head of the whole community of nuns, she comes to see the Buddha. And she's not alone. She has 500 of her fellow nuns with her. They've got just one thing on their minds, one single, very important request. They want a lesson. But hold on a second. I really want you to just pause on that number. 500. We're not talking about a handful of people asking a question after class. This was a huge deal, a major, large-scale request for some serious spiritual guidance. You can just feel how immense the need for clarity must have been. So you'd think one of the senior monks would step up, right? Well, turns out they'd all pretty much had their turn teaching the nuns. But then someone points out, hey, wait a minute, Nandaka hasn't taken his turn yet. And here's the kicker, the little bit of human drama. Nandaka is like, nope, not me. I don't want to do it. But when the Buddha personally asks you to do something, well, you kind of have to do it. And just like that, our reluctant hero agrees to teach. So, Nandaka's on the spot. What's he going to do? Does he get up there and give some long, boring lecture? No way. He does something way smarter, way more powerful. He starts by just asking a question. He turns the whole thing into a conversation, an investigation where everyone gets to participate. And this is it. This is the starting gun. He goes right for the most fundamental tool we have for experiencing the world, our eyes. He asks this super direct question, and it forces them to stop thinking and start looking at their own immediate experience. Is this thing you see with, he asks, is it a fixed, constant thing? And bam, the answer right away. Impermanent, sir. No hesitation at all. They just know it. And with that one single word, the entire foundation for this incredible lesson is locked firmly in place. Okay, now this is where it gets really cool. See, Nandaka doesn't just go, great, next question. He takes their one answer and he builds on it with this perfect, airtight logic. He basically says, okay, if we all agree the eye is always changing, is that a relaxing feeling or is it kind of stressful? And of course they say stressful. Right, he says. So if it's changing and stressful, why on earth would you build your identity on it? Does it make any sense to say, that's me, that's mine? And they're just like, no way, sir. And get this, he doesn't just stop with the eye. He takes this exact same brilliant line of questioning and just boom, 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 applies it to the whole shebang. The six senses, eye, ear, nose, you name it. Then he does it for the six things they perceive, sights, sounds, smells. And then he does it for the six kinds of awareness that pop up when those two things meet. It's a total deconstruction of reality right in front of them. No stone is left unturned. Now, that's a lot of logic, right? It's powerful, but it can be a little abstract. So Nandaka, being a brilliant teacher, switches gears. He moves from pure logic to these incredible images, these metaphors that are just impossibly to forget. First up, he says, think about an oil lamp. You've got the oil, right? That runs out. You've got the wick that burns down. And the flame itself is constantly flickering, totally dependent on the other two. So his question is simple. If all the parts that make the light are temporary, how could the light itself possibly be permanent? It's impossible. In the same way, how can any feeling we get from our temporary senses be some solid, permanent thing? And then he hits them with another one, just to make sure it sticks. He says, okay, what about a giant tree? It seems so solid, so permanent. But even a huge tree is always in flux. The roots, the trunk, the branches, none of it is static. So could the shadow that tree casts be permanent? Of course not. It's just a fleeting shadow. And that's his whole point. The world we experience is just like that shadow cast by things that are always, always changing. So he's laid the groundwork with logic, and he's made it stick with these great images. Now he brings out the big guns, his final and most powerful metaphor. I'll warn you, it's a little intense, a bit graphic even, but it is the perfect explanation for how to actually get free from all the stress he's been talking about. So the big question is, how do we actually do this? Well, you need a tool, and that tool is called Arya Panya, or what we can call noble wisdom. But don't think of wisdom as some fuzzy, abstract idea. No, this is something sharp, something precise. It's like a razor-sharp knife that can cut through all the confusion and separate things that feel hopelessly tangled up. Let's really break this down because it's brilliant. Nandaka says to imagine our senses, our eyes, ears, and so on, as the inner flesh of a cow. And the things out there in the world, sights, sounds, that's the outer hide. Now, in our normal experience, those two things feel totally glued together, right? What's the glue? That's what he calls nanduraga. It's that craving, that attachment. It's like these invisible tendons holding everything together. And the knife, that noble wisdom, is what a skilled butcher uses to just cleanly cut those bonds. It separates our senses from the world without damaging either one, and that's what frees us from that sticky, clinging feeling. So, lesson over. Nandaka finishes his teaching and sends the 500 nuns on their way. They go report back to the Buddha who's been observing this whole time. And his assessment, well, it's absolutely fascinating. The Buddha says basically, yeah, they're happy with the lesson, they got a lot out of it, but their minds aren't fully lit up yet. He uses this beautiful image, comparing their understanding to the moon on the 14th night. It's huge, it's bright, it's almost perfect, but there's still that little tiny sliver of darkness left. They're so close, but not quite all the way there. So what's the fix? Do they need some new, advanced teaching? A secret technique? Nope. The Buddha simply tells Nandaka, go and teach them the exact same discourse tomorrow. And this tells you something so profound about learning, doesn't it? Sometimes what we need isn't more information. It's just a deeper hearing of the information we already have. So Nandaka does exactly as he's told. He repeats the entire discourse word for word. And this time, when the nuns come back, the Buddha's assessment is totally different. He declares that they're not just pleased, but their understanding is now complete. It's perfected, like the brilliant, flawless, perfect full moon on the 15th day. And just to put a giant exclamation point on how successful this was, the Buddha says something just mind-blowing. He says that out of all 500 of them, even the nun with the least attainment has now become a stream enterer. That's a stage of irreversible progress. It means she's on a one-way track to complete awakening. The teaching was literally a 100% success. Incredible. So the big lesson from Nandaka is that clarity doesn't come from piling on more knowledge. It comes from seeing what's already here with a piercing, honest wisdom. That wisdom is the knife that can skillfully separate us from our attachments. And that really leaves us with a question to ponder, doesn't it? What are the unseen bonds in your own experience that you're ready to see and maybe cut through with a clearer vision?